Okay. Sorry, it looked like I just punched you. I totally didn't do that. We're live again. I mean, if anybody's been following the adventure, we're in Spain. There are worse places to be in the world.
It's not a bad place to be. I think a few worse.
You're in Tokyo, right?
Yes.
That's an amazing place as well. I would wager the weather's a bit more humid.
Yes.
A lot more humid. Which is fine. I have a laundry machine. We probably have the ability to clean your shirts as well. But if you're going to go someplace on vacation, you don't have a laundry machine. This is not bad. This could be, I don't know. People can't. We're near the Plaza España, Plaza España, and Plaza de Catalunya. I guess that's what it's called. Not España. And there's that crazy, amazing, beautiful fountain that way, which behind me, and then. Yeah, and anyway, I only mention all that because it kind of is a little awkward that you're here. Because if people like you weren't here, I would be outside running in the fountains.
So I'm keeping you from enjoying the beauty that is
by making it so that I'm still learning stuff. If smart people like you weren't here, I'd be doing something frivolous and fun. But this is not frivolous, and it is fun too.
These smart people and me.
No, wait. Oh. You. Just people like you. Smart. Okay. Anyway, we're live. You work on have you done your talk yet already?
No, talk is tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow afternoon.
Can we foreshadow? We're live. You want to join us? And lo, a stray Rob Winch appears. Oh, come on. You know what? We're just my YouTube channel.
We're chatting up the people.
People's, yeah. It's Rob Winch. You don't believe it? Just say hi. Yeah, see, there you go. Maybe you can hear. I've got the AI Crisp. I don't know if anybody's used it, but it's like a live virtual microphone. So I can have a marching band behind me, and it still just keeps the voices that are right near the microphone in crisp audio, like phone booth or crisp. Yeah, it's awesome. It's really good. I wish they were a sponsor. I wish I had a sponsor. I wish I could get money for saying things like, just wait, I do that. Mission accomplished. No, anyway, the point is, I don't know if they actually heard you. Because you're kind of like, I don't know, whatever. Well, if you don't want to show your face yet, there's a big reveal. It's like what's that, Masked Singer?
Oh.
Like, you would be the best at that. Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
They have people singing, but they're in masks, and then at the end of the season, they reveal who.
Isn't it called Masked Singer?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, you could be the
Mass developer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
Security wonk.
I just need to go here.
Right. Yeah. Okay. There's Uva app here for the show. Okay. Well, we'll connect later. I'm going to interview this guy.
Yes. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, not at all.
That's fine. Anyway, we're live here in Barcelona. I was just telling him how sad I am that I'm not outside instead of here talking to him. That's what you interrupted. It was just me making him feel worse for no reason. Yeah. So anyway, that's not what I was trying to do. It so happened that anyway,
It's in a beautiful city.
Yeah, and yeah. Okay, so the show, a great show, lots of good stuff. You're going to be talking tomorrow. Can you prelude? Can you preview some of what you're going to talk about without actually giving any of it away?
Sure. So tomorrow, me and Martian are going to
Marcin Grzyszak?
Yes. I'm glad you said his last name, not me.
I get it. I get like 90%. It's almost right, but it's not. Like the people that speak Polish, they suffer. Hey, good morning. Oh yeah, good morning. Where is it? So if you're in the chat, good morning. I don't know. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It is late afternoon. It's 3:30 here in Spain. I don't know where people are coming in from. We've got a weird audience. Usually I stream end of day in Europe, morning in the States, late evening Japan, right? What is it here? 5 hours difference? 6 hours? I mean,
6 hours.
Yeah. So if it's 5 o'clock here, then it's 11 o'clock where you are. But usually that gives me everybody, right? I can get people in Asia, in the Americas, here, and so on. So anyway, people are starting to trickle in. I have all these surprise pop-up live streams today. Okay. Anyway, so you're going to be doing a talk with Marcin Grzyszak, who is the lead of the tracing side. Before the old Spring Cloud Sleuth stuff.
Yeah. So Spring Cloud Sleuth and now Micrometer tracing, and he's also doing Spring Cloud Contract.
Right. Yeah. One of the powerhouses in the Spring Cloud team. So you're going to be talking about, I mean, what happened? Why would you have to talk about this stuff that's been around for half a decade or more?
Yeah, so observability has been a thing, but we're trying to keep improving it, and we're trying to make sure that it gets out to the people and that everyone knows about it.
Right.
Because even though it's been there, it's been available, not everyone's using it yet for some odd reason. And it could be because some people don't know about it, or it could be because some people think that it's more difficult to implement in your application than it is.
Right.
And either way, we want people to know what it is, know how it can benefit you, and know how you can get that in your apps, especially since we're at Spring Conference here, how you can get that in your Spring apps.
Right. The goodest apps.
Yes.
What is observability? Like, what and why? What is? Okay, I like if I have a choice every morning, I could stay in bed, go do something. Why would I choose to do observability?
Yeah.
As opposed to staying in bed.
Well, I think that's actually a really good analogy there, because you would want to have observability so that you can stay in bed at night instead of being woken up by production issues that then keep you up all night and you can't ever go back to sleep because you can't find the root cause of the issue, or you don't even know that there's an issue, and then your boss is very mad at you the next day and you can't afford sheets to put on your bed that you want to sleep in.
Or worse, you don't have an issue, but you worry that you're kept up at night.
Yeah.
About the ghosts that lay behind.
Instead of enjoying a good rest in your bed, you could be staring at the dashboard and waiting for an issue to happen because you don't know when it's going to show up.
Oh man, the adrenaline. Yeah. Okay, so observability is what? The idea that my apps through their outputs can tell the story of their health?
Yeah,
Is
so
that basically it?
You know what's going on with your applications, you can figure out why things happened, how they're doing.
Right.
So they can give you information in various ways so that you know how healthy is your application, what does the user experience look like,
Right.
How much money is this making, what kind of things are users doing with my app. These are the kinds of questions that you can answer with observability.
Okay, so there's two sides to it, right? I think you just alluded to two of them. One is tracing, on which machine is working, and what's the other side?
So the two main parts that we focus on are tracing and metrics, but the exciting thing with the latest Spring Boot 3 release train, we had Micrometer 1.10 release, and we introduced this new observation API that kind of abstracts across metrics and tracing, plus anything else that you want.
Wait, there's more? There's more?
There's more.
Like
So
logs?
you could have logs, you could have some kind of like security audits.
Okay.
The idea is that we wanted to make it as generic as possible, so that if you had some specific requirement in your company and it made sense to integrate with this,
Right.
you'd be able to do that.
I see.
Because we think of some things, but we can't think of everything, and we don't know exactly what needs your company has.
Right. So okay, why not? So okay, let's start from first principles here. Why wouldn't I use Nagios?
So Nagios, it's
Like that.
Sometimes these are referred to as kind of like more traditional monitoring, in the sense of it'll tell you, is your application up or down,
Right.
kind of thing. And that's important to know. If the
Sure.
application is
To
down,
start.
you want to know that. But from a user perspective, if you try to use some service, you don't care if some specific application is up or down. You just care about your experience. Like,
Right.
was I able to do the thing that I was trying to do? Was I able to do it quickly?
Right.
So
So
you-
time is a dimension you care about, right?
Yeah. And so you need to get more information. You need to know more about the user experience than just, is my app up or down? Because that's another thing, is an app could be down, but it's kind of like if a tree falls in a forest and nobody's there to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, if an app is down production and no users ever have any bad experiences because of it,
Right.
does it matter?
We'll never know. I mean, you're saying we would know. Oh, big philosophical existential question. Long holding up the philosophical and the greatest minds of our time. Answered here live on stream. Wait. Oh, okay. So that's new. That's nice. There is a way to know.
There is a way to know.
So you mentioned metrics. Metrics are statistics, or what are they? Like,
Yeah, so metrics, it's kind of like you're collecting data about your application and you're aggregating that, and then you're trying to drive something about it. So if you drive a car, let's say you have a speedometer,
Yeah.
it tells you how fast your car is going. That's an instance of a metric. It's telling you how fast. It has an
Right.
odometer in there. It tells you the distance that your car has gone.
Right.
That's another instance of a metric. So if we're talking about applications and services, something like how much memory is your application using,
Yeah.
how much CPU is your application using, how long did a request take? These are the kinds of things that metrics can answer.
Right.
It can answer about it in aggregate. So you can
Okay.
say across all of my applications, what's the longest time that any request took? You can get the maximum. Or you can say how much memory is being used by all of my applications.
Right.
You could get that information across all of your applications
In
instead of
total.
just a split.
Yeah. Okay, metrics. And then tracing is sort of the opposite. It's about a particular request, is it? Or what is that?
Yeah, so tracing is when you want to dig down deeper into a specific request. Because again, as I said, for a user, they don't care what happened in one case, they care about what happened in their case. So if you say that there are errors happening, or you say that things are usually fast,
Right.
but for a specific user, they were slow. They don't care that they're usually fast. They don't care that everyone else had a great experience.
Right.
They didn't have a good experience.
Yeah.
And so you want to be able to look at,
Small
okay,
comfort.
if I can find a request that matches that user's experience, they had a slow response, I want to be able to see the path that request took through your system. What did that involve? How long did it spend in each place?
Right.
And this is what tracing can give for you. It will show you the different services and how they interact and how much time is spent at each place for a very specific request. So these are not aggregated, unlike metrics.
And that was a small bit of trivia. That's the stuff you were starting to contribute to before you joined the team, isn't it?
Yeah, so I was at my previous job, I was using Zipkin, and we were using that for tracing, and I got involved contributing back to the open source project.
It's the open source chicken baby. Just contribute, and maybe you can work with Tommy. Okay, so good. So we okay. I now get observability, at least the common sort of general definition of it. What you're saying is there's there's also logs. That's not a new thing either, right? Logs are a third dimension, which is, should we? Is that like the recommended way forward? That always felt like a last stopgap, sort of. If everything else fails, then at least you've got logs.
Yeah, so when we talk about observability, the one thing that I think almost everywhere is doing is logs. And a lot of times, even if you aren't writing your own logs, you'll be using a library that has some logging included in it. So everyone's kind of familiar with logs, and that's kind of their comfort zone.
Right.
So if they don't have metrics and they don't have tracing, or if they do have them but they're not comfortable with them, people will tend to fall back to logs. And logs aren't a bad thing, but I think that they're used too much as a crutch when there could be better tools available for the job at hand.
Right. Okay. So now, fast forward to today. We've got this Spring Boot 3.0 just came out last November.
Yep.
Big feature. New version of Micrometer.
Yep.
And traditionally, going back to those first 2 points, I don't think Micrometer has a very strong opinion about logs, or at least it didn't before. But it certainly understood and knew what to do with metrics. But on the other hand, if you want to do distributed tracing, so you had Spring Framework depending on Micrometer, Spring Boot depending on Spring Framework, Spring Cloud depending on Spring Boot, Spring Cloud Sleuth depending on Spring Cloud, and Spring Cloud Sleuth did distributed tracing, and then at the very bottom you had Micrometer doing metrics, and there seemed like they're two different sides of the same coin, and yet one is 4 levels above the other, right?
Yep.
So what now?
So
where are we?
many of our Spring users noticed that very thing, and some of them were like, I want to have tracing as well, but I don't want to have to. I don't use Spring Cloud in my applications currently,
Right.
And so that was kind of a friction point for some users.
And it's not like Spring Boot could depend on Spring Cloud Sleuth,
Right.
create a circular dependencies, so that meant that in the framework level, it couldn't instrument that stuff either.
Exactly. So we took a look at it, and we decided since we were doing a major version, this was the time to change things up and see if we could take a different approach.
What version is it? 4? 3? Micrometer?
Micrometer there was 1.10 is
Okay.
the version for Spring Boot 3.
It's so immaterial these days because
Yes.
it's just part of the thing you get when you use Actuator, which is what you get when you use Spring Boot.
That's the beauty of dependency management. You don't have to care. You just use what it gives you, and maybe occasionally bump a patch version if you need to.
There are people on the Spring team, no hair, completely gone because they manage this stuff for you.
They take the pain.
Yeah, big pain, huge. Okay, good. So you've got this the community. They said a thing. Now what?
They said a thing, and so we decided, okay, Micrometer does metrics. We have this tracing and sleuth, what if we brought that into the micrometer umbrella here?
Right.
And so we made a micrometer tracing project, which is secret here. A lot of the code is kind of just taken from sleuth and remove the Spring parts, because micrometer, fun fact, doesn't actually depend on Spring.
Right.
You can use micrometer without Spring. Plain.
I mentioned this. I talk to people about this a lot, but I've long since forgotten the list. I think Neo4j, like RabbitMQ. What are some popular projects that people might know that pull in the same way that they might log4j? What are some popular projects that pull in micrometer?
The Lettuce.
Oh, Redis.
Redis driver
Okay.
has it. Hikari CP, which is the default.
Yeah, the Hikari CP, the connection pool.
They have micrometer in there.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah.
I mean, there are so many projects. It's hard to keep track. Sorry, we're distracted by food.
Yeah, I just saw some food on a cart wheeling the other way. I'm like, okay, so yeah, there's a lot of like, it's like a logging library, and that's what the website even says, right? I think observability, like log4j or something like that.
SLF4j, yeah.
Yeah, SLF4j, observability. What is the website? I don't know. Whatever. Yeah, micrometer.io. Go there, write me out, and do nothing, because there's not much you can do there. It's just sort of a landing page, isn't it? But it's think SLF4j, but for observability. And the docs are quite good. Oh yeah, you can get to the docs. That's true. And there's a Slack page, and okay, you know what? It deserves a promotion. And do the thing. Stand back. Okay. Go there. Yeah. Micrometer.io. I can't stick up front counter or anything.
No, we give it away for free.
Yeah.
Don't even have to sell us your information.
If you have a good question in the chat, we'll reward you with a copy of the source code. Just one time only. Okay, so now you've got this new API. You've pushed the tracing down into micrometer. Tracing, it's kind of it's not like there's a crowded, like with metrics, there's 20 different systems that tracing. There's obviously OpenZipkin. I think that's the 900-pound gorilla.
Yep.
OpenTelemetry?
OpenTelemetry is out there, and OpenTelemetry is many things. And so this is kind of the challenging part of talking about OpenTelemetry, because you have the API, you have the SDK, you have the OpenTelemetry format, you have the OpenTelemetry collector, and then you have all of these things that are implementing OpenTelemetry or implementing the collector or can receive the OpenTelemetry format. So OpenTelemetry is many things. And we have previously in Micrometer 1.9, I believe it was, added support for an OTLP, which is the OpenTelemetry protocol. This is the format for sending metrics, logs, tracing in OpenTelemetry format.
Okay.
And so we added an OTLP meter registry. So if you want to send your metrics to some backend that understands OpenTelemetry protocol, then you can use this meter registry with Micrometer, same as you use other meter registries,
right? And
publish those metrics in OTLP format.
Cool.
And I think that more and more metrics backends are going to start supporting, if they don't already support, the OTLP format. So this is kind of like a universal format that you can use with different vendors and different backends.
So it's not the protocol. It's not like StatsD. It's a payload describing metrics in a consistent way.
It's just a format of how to send the metrics.
Okay.
And they support protobuf. They have JSON.
Also, there's multiple ways to encode the data.
Yes.
Over multiple ways to encode the data, and so any
multiple transports. They have HTTP, gRPC.
Oh, neato. Okay, good stuff. Good.
So one of the ways we support OpenTelemetry is with this OTLP meter registry. So that's on the metric side. On the tracing side, Micrometer Tracing has support for, if you want to, Micrometer Tracing is kind of a solver tracing library.
Yeah.
And one of the implementations that you can use is OpenZipkin Brave, or you can use the OpenTelemetry tracer. And so that's another way that you can integrate. Or you can also have the OTLP exporter for your traces. So you can also export your traces in OTLP format.
Nice.
So
OTLP also supports distributed tracing. That's cool.
Yep.
So does Zipkin support OTLP, or is it still the Brave?
Zipkin has its own format, so that doesn't support OTLP, but there is the OpenTelemetry collector, which is kind of an intermediary component that you can send things to. And the OpenTelemetry collector can kind of translate things. So it can accept things in Zipkin format, it can accept things in OTLP format, and it can then those to some other backend in a different format.
Is it fast, or is it like? I mean, it's an extra hop, which is fine. They open hops. Like,
it's an extra hop, but sometimes people have other needs for this. I mean, this translation is one use case for it, but sometimes there's other processing that you want to do.
Right.
Maybe there's some kind of sensitive data in your tracing data, perhaps, that you want to filter out, or you want to do some kind of aggregation, or you want to drop some data. There's a lot of different things that you can do, and people have had these use cases, and OpenTelemetry Collector is one which you can fulfill those.
yeah, amazing. Okay, so, and then a lot of these different infrastructure companies also support their own version of distributed tracing, and I suppose like we have a list on the Micrometer website, but I would have thought statistics, metrics. But are some of these coming? Like, well, some of them. Oh, okay. Look, well, some of these all support tracing. I guess now that there's a new unified API, like Atlas doesn't support tracing, of course, but like.
So some of them, some of the vendors specifically, so like Datadog, Wavefront, Stackdriver, these.
That's from Google, and Wavefront's from VMware. Okay.
These all support both metrics and tracing, and so they have their own format in which that can be sent. And so on the metric side, we have the meter registries that understand the specific format for the specific backend. On the tracing side, there are different exporters that you can configure to export your traces in one format or another.
Nice. Okay. So now we've got this whole world of things with which we can integrate. Is there a delay? Because it's only been 6 months since Spring Boot 3.0 dropped, right? And today's, as we record this, 3.1 comes out, right? But is there a delay in third parties updating their support for the new Micrometer API, which is the new observation API, which supports both metrics and tracing? What can people expect?
Yeah, so we've been working with a lot of third-party applications to try to get them to. So up until now, one of the main reasons that we introduced the observation API is because before, if you wanted metrics and tracing, you would have to instrument your code. So you would instrument it, saying, "Hey, give me metrics on this piece of code," and then you would have to do the same thing for tracing because they're two different APIs. And so we wanted to get rid of that double work of having to instrument twice to get metrics and tracing. So now you can instrument once with this observation API, and then you can configure separate handlers so that the instrumentation is only done once, and you just have two different implementations of handlers. One can produce metrics and the other can produce tracing from one instrumentation. So we've been going to projects that either already have metrics or tracing instrumentation,
right? And
we're saying, hey, would you like to update, or can we help you update to use this new observation API? And so that work has been ongoing, but as part of the Spring Boot 3 release process, we did that for all of the Spring projects internally.
Right, sure.
So before, all of the instrumentation was either in Sleuth or it was in Spring Boot for metrics. And now that has been pushed down to the projects, and they're all using this new observation API.
Nice.
And if we've done things correctly, for the most part, users shouldn't notice anything different. Like, things were working before, and now they're still working.
And they might even have new metrics, more metrics, right? Like, because there's
so
it's possible at the framework level for each team, which has their own opinions about this stuff, to contribute new things that maybe the Spring Cloud Sleuth team just didn't see or couldn't have.
Well, yeah, so sometimes instrumenting from outside of the application, we're limited by what the API of that library exposes as far as what information we can include.
Right.
Whereas if you're instrumenting from within the library, it has all of the information possible.
Right.
And so there may be some things that you can include that we couldn't have included while we were instrumenting from outside. So this is why we try to recommend taking this approach of bring the instrumentation to the projects and do it with this observation API, because that gives the flexibility of, we already have implementation of how to make the observation API produce metrics and traces,
right?
But users might have something else. Maybe they want some logging around all of the instrumentation. Maybe they have some very specific system that's internal, and so therefore we can't provide an implementation for that, but they want to have they want to reuse this instrumentation that's already there.
Right. Sounds good to me. Okay, so that's the new API. It is supported already in Spring Boot 3.0. The work is ongoing to make sure every ecosystem project out there works well, but all the big ones are basically there already. Like, I don't know, Zipkin, we mentioned that. We mentioned, your Prometheuses and atlases and whatever.
Yep.
There's support there already. There's a new observation API. Now, this API is, you mentioned that earlier, but it's a Java API. You say it like there's a method to start the builder, and you say observation.create not started, pass in the metric name and the observation registry, and then you pass in a supplier if you want to create a context in which distributed tracing happens. That's one way. There's also an at observation or observed. That sounds right. Annotation, yeah.
Yep.
So, when would I use what?
Yeah, so
What
if
reactive and non-blocking stuff and coroutines.
Yeah, so we, as part of this whole effort, we introduced a new project called context propagation, and this was help with passing context from an imperative to a reactive and back and forth, as might happen if you're using Reactor and you're switching to some blocking code, or if you're using, say, GraphQL and switching between things. We wanted to make sure that we kept the context, which is important, particularly for distributed tracing. And so we introduced this new project, context propagation, that has implementations in Reactor that integrate with the Reactor context, in GraphQL that integrate with GraphQL context,
Right.
and integrate with thread locals for imperative code. So we're trying to do. It's very hard work to get this all done, and we're working through bugs still, but we're trying to do the hard work so that it just is easy and works for everyone.
Well, is there any thought to like scope values and Project Loom and all that?
Yeah, I was just talking today about that to somebody, and we're looking at how that could possibly integrate, and we think that there probably will be some integration within the context propagation library.
Okay.
But we're still kind of waiting because that's still preview feature.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. Even Project Loom drops. We had Billy Carando on the show just a few minutes ago, or hours ago, or weeks. I don't know. I think it was today, but it's been a long day. Anyway, he was talking about Project Loom virtual threads. That'll be there in 21, but scope values and structure won't be there. Yeah. Yep. So. Yeah, did ship it. It would have to be against a non-GA thing. Okay, right, very cool. So, are you on the internet? And if so, where do people find you?
I am on the internet. I'm on Twitter, just at my name, Tommy Ludwig.
Okay. I appreciate you being on the show.
And we also have Josh linked to the website earlier, so you can go there, check out the documentation. There's a link to Slack there if you want to find us on the Micrometer Slack.
That's so awesome. Thanks, my friend. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Oh, look at he's wearing a shirt. Is Big Turnout War Spring I/O. That's 2016. That's the shirt that this very conference. We're at Spring I/O. Amazing show. If you're watching this instead of being here, you're missing out. I mean, my deodorant's pretty rank at this point, but basically, to give me a wide berth, you would be out. It's amazing.
If you haven't been to Spring I/O, you should definitely come. And if you want to hear more about observability and what we're doing on the Spring team here, you should check out the talk that I'm going to be giving tomorrow. Yeah. So either if you're here in person, and if not, watch the recording later. And as he said, get in touch with us. Let us know if you have any ideas. Give us any feedback.
Why not? Thanks, buddy.